Welcome to the Private Practice Pro podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping therapists cultivate success. Here's your host, Kelley Stevens.
Welcome, Lacy. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. I don't even know how we met through the internet.
Thank you, internet.
Thank you, internet. Thank you, Instagram algorithm, for forgiving me, Lacy. Can you introduce yourself? Tell us where you are right now, where you are in your therapy journey, what you practice. Just give us the elevator.
The elevator. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course.
It's really fun and exciting. My name's Lacy Tannous. I am looking right now at the San Gabriel Mountains. I'm in Sierra Madre. It's where I work. It's where I live. Small town right by Pasadena. I see a range of folks in my practice. So I'm an associate marriage and family therapist, an associate professional clinical counselor, which means I do listening and attuning, reflecting. And I really appreciate the field and the boundaries of the field and the way the frame allows me to fully show up. And I think that's kind of the journey I'm on. I'm a pre-licensed therapist wanting to be myself.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of second career. I had about 7 years in a different field, and I'm coming into this really craving the long road.
Yeah.
And a sort of relationship to work and life that feels like I could do it for years.
Yeah.
And not burn out. So yeah, that's a bit about me. I think we met on Instagram.
I think we met on Instagram too. I think that you were back when my account was really small. I think I had 300 followers or something. You followed me and we just were chatting on Instagram. This was back in the day when it was easier to just audio message on. I mean, I guess it is easy to audio message on Instagram, but now it's a little tougher because I get lost in ADHD spiral. I get lost in TikTok videos and I don't even know. But okay, so I want to go back to what you said about having this being your second career, because I think that's really common for people. So, and I know we've talked before about your pace and wanting to do things in a way that feels sustainable. So maybe you could talk about how did you decide to go back to school to be a therapist?
Well, I'm pretty... So left brain, right brain, I feel like I'm an even split in the sense of it needed to be really practical, but I also needed to feel deep meaning and pull towards going back to school. So in the practical sense, I wasn't going to become a therapist unless I financially could make it work.
Yeah, amen.
Right? So my left brain kicking into gear being what's the bottom line here?
Right.
Can you work and also do this program? And then the right brain side of me really wanting, even in my prior profession, what mattered the most to me was that one-on-one connection where folks were putting pieces together and integrating thought, emotion, behavior. So low-key therapizing.
Right. Wait, what did you do before?
Yeah, so I worked in higher education. Yeah. That part of that time was as a resident director. So living in
I could see that. I could so see that. I want to live in your dorm. If you had been my RD in college, oh my God, I would have been so happy.
And it was a great gig. And my favorite part about it was the one-on-one. Part of the job description was to sit down with our resident advisors every week.
Yeah.
So you I look back on that, that was 12 hours of, mentorship and leadership couched sort of in the job. But there was a definite emphasis on what's the story here that this person is sitting in the middle of, and how do I meet them? But I struggled because I'm also you tell me I'm going to do something, go right, I want to go left. Yeah. And have therapy energy all over me. And so people are right? And I'm don't tell me what I'll so yeah, I'm here kind of everybody knew this was coming.
Did people in your family say you should become a therapist?
Yeah. Yes. And also you're a family's therapist. And I'm no. Nope.
You're like,
Yeah,
no, I'm not.
try again. It definitely feels congruent. I think when we were talking earlier on Instagram Live, like that was the word that really, it still sort of drives me now. Like how to have more congruence. I don't really want the kind of compartmentalization that means I'm a different person when I'm home than I am in a chair in an office. So, yeah.
Do you feel like when you're with clients, you're very much who you are outside of the therapy room too?
I am expanding in that area.
Me too. Let me ask you this. Do you wear, like, is what you wear at home, not at home, but like in real life, similar to what you wear in the therapy room? Like, do you dress the same?
I'm like wanting to stand up right now and show you my shorts.
Yeah, you should see what let me see. What do you have on the look at your guitar? Yes, I love it. I have like some stretchy pants on, and normally I'm wearing yoga pants on the bottom. Do you wear shorts into the office?
I do, but that's because I bike to the office and then I change.
Oh my gosh, it has literally been my dream to bike to my office. I want to be one of those people that has, you know, when people bike to the office and they have like that Velcro strap around the leg with the gears on it.
Yes, that's you.
I want the Velcro. I mean, like I've never biked to my office. I've never lived somewhere where I could, but like I covet that Velcro leg strap. Like, you know, you've arrived. Because I feel like that was a game changer for me when I started wearing, not that I like dress super great normally. In fact, I don't. Anyone who follows me on Instagram probably know I wear a striped shirt and yoga pants most days. But it did help me when I started to dress a little more casually. And I feel like it made my clients more comfortable. I had started seeing for a little while, I don't do this anymore. But for a little while, I saw Saturday appointments and it was a busy day for me. Like I'd be booked the whole day. People loved coming on Saturdays, which I always suggest to people if you're just starting out and you really want to fill a practice, like Saturdays are a good way to do that, you know? But I said to my clients, I was like, look, I'll come in on Saturdays, but I'm going to wear exactly what I would wear on a Saturday. Like I'm going to wear yoga pants and a yoga shirt and whatever, because like I'm coming in on Saturday and no one cared. In fact, I felt like people were more relaxed in general. Like they'd come relaxed.
Wow.
And then I was like, oh, you know, like I don't have to dress. And I still try to dress semi-professional. You know, I don't come in my yoga clothes or anything anymore, but I don't wear as much professional attire as I used to. And that felt more congruent. I don't know.
I mean,
anyway.
Yes, and this gets, for me, like on a macro level, like where did professionalism come from? Who decided what business casual means?
I don't know. Do you know?
I'm like a guy's Oxford right now. And I'm like, interesting.
We're like patriarchy. We're in the, but I love a good Oxford too. And I love a good collared shirt. Like I could probably wear one every day but like in the slouchy kind of way, you know?
Yeah. I think we're like down a fashion trail and I love it so much. I think that's kind of my last frontier. Like, how do I appearance isn't everything,
right?
But appearance is a major thing.
Yeah.
And I am sort of in that space of like, okay, I'm not trying to be what I'm not. I think I used to dress the part.
Like dress like a therapist.
Yeah. Or like, I remember I was a coordinator and I like had a blazer on for my job. Someone who was, I mean, we're talking 3, 4, 5, you know, structure above me was like, you're really dressed up.
You're like, yeah,
you're a vice president.
Right.
You know? And just realizing like, yeah, it's sort of how, but I wanted to be somewhere else. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like whether that was like, I want your job someday. I don't know. I just was like I wasn't like settled in a sense of like, here's me. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
and I think clients can tell that, you know, like I have friends who do have full face makeup and blouses and like, that's really them, you know?
Yeah.
And like, I think it's kind of like what you're saying that like our clients want that feeling of us settling into ourselves. And for me, that means looking a little schlubby sometimes.
Yeah. They don't know nor are they responsible to know that mark for us.
Yeah.
Or should we be like asking them to, but I think there's a real like sense that's not even somewhere beyond language. Like you're more you.
Totally.
And that's for me, the therapy journey is like about becoming more myself, interestingly. And as I'm helping patients do the same. So.
Oh, I agree. Completely.
And fashion's just one way. And to like play with it and have fun.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. We definitely went down a fashion wormhole. And I'm so tempted to be like, I love this one fashion blog called The Mom Edit. But anyway, we're gonna steer away from fashion because it's not a fashion podcast. But I want to know, okay, so being pre-licensed, first of all, kind of give us a sense where, like, how many hours, where are you, first of all, in terms of your hours? And here in California, we require 3,000. So maybe give some placement around where you're at in the journey.
Yeah. So I am a little over 2,000. For some people, that would mean like, oh, she's got about 6 months. For me, it's probably going to be more like a year because of the things I want to be at. Interestingly, like the breakdown really matters. So it is 3,000, but it's also minimum in terms of like, you need a minimum amount of couple and family hours if you're going for your AMFT. You need a minimum amount of non-clinical hours. Like it all breaks down in certain benchmarks that actually can mean you may have 4,000 hours when you apply for licensure because it took an extra 6 months or something to hit your couple, family, children hours. Or so I feel like, I'm like 2,000 and I have no idea. You know what? It is interesting to see that number like sort of grow.
Yeah.
And just
you're almost there, dude. It's going to be before you know it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then in terms of you work at a private practice, right? You work in a group practice.
Yeah.
So one of the questions I get a lot from people is how do you get an associateship or an internship in a private practice? Or how did it come about for you?
Well, for me, I had my eye on this group practice the first time I was ever introduced like to different practicum sites in graduate school. I remember my school structured it like a fair and there were like 50 tables. And it was like they were trying something new where we did kind of a speed dating, like 1 minute at each table situation. And I just earmarked like the 3 or 4 or 5 that kind of allowed me to work evenings, like met all the criteria. But I also earmarked the ones I was like, maybe someday, you know? Just like kind of see the range of what's out there. So Sync is sort of unique in its theory. Like it's kind of rare to find a psychodynamic site as an associate or a trainee. So I just kind of earmarked it. And I was like, not now, but And then I had the opportunity because I was doing a 4-year track to have a second practicum. So December 2019, I think I reached out and was like, are you looking for trainees? Here's what I want. And I was really upfront. I said, like, I want something longer term. When I become an associate, I want to stay in relationships.
Yeah.
And they actually really appreciated that.
Yeah.
Sort of just the upfront, like, do you see yourself growing here? Is there longevity here?
Right.
Apparently they were cool with it. So
that's amazing. So did you start when you were still in school in the group practice?
Yeah. So I was a trainee I feel like I came on board May 2020 and then I graduated December 2020 and then just, filled out their employee paperwork and switched over.
Do you have any sense of, because I know like some states or like in some places you can do private practice internships as a trainee and in some you can't. Do you have a sense of how that all worked with your site? Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Are you talking about like whether or not a trainee can report to a supervisor in private practice?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if I understand correctly, trainees still are not able to be supervised in private practice settings, but associates can. I think Sync falls under like the nonprofit group practice category.
Oh, I see. Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because in the nonprofit setting, you can, in a for-profit private practice, you have to wait until you're an associate. In California, obviously we have people all over the place. So And then, so when you made that transition to being an associate, you're working in private practice, how do you, where do your clients come from?
My clients came from all sorts of places. Okay, this is where I want to show us marketing.
Oh, yes. Lacy wanted to share this marketing tip with me earlier. And I was like, no, you have to save it for the podcast. So this is it. I'm ready.
So a colleague of mine from Sync yesterday was she's doing a deep dive into a lot of marketing text, doing her homework. How do we get referrals, right? Yeah. She was like, I think she may have heard it from her colleague, but we don't need to be Disneyland. Yeah. We don't need a theme park for thousands of people to walk in every day. She's like, we need 25 people in California who need help.
Yeah. And there's way more than that.
And I just thought, what is so refreshing? Yeah. It really it also, for me, sort of frees me up to be more myself, because I'm not looking to attract 1 million Californians. I'm looking for 25 people who need help, right?
Right.
Okay. So that's my nugget. How I found them, Sync provided a few referrals, but I will say they are heavy on the independent, build your own practice. We support you and how that's done for every person.
Great.
So heavy in the here's your caseload that we have for you and we expect you to maintain. Right. So I knew that coming in, and to be honest, I was like, I want to build that muscle. It's going to hurt. Not going to be easy.
Yeah.
But I need to learn, if I do end up starting my own business, and the private practice therapists I know are very happy.
Yeah. So, the ones I know are too.
They feel a range of emotions, but they feel happy. Private practice. So it just felt to me okay, it's been frustrating. It's taken advocacy. There's times when I've been, angry that I didn't have more resources before I graduated. And also, I'm proud of myself, you know, I've built a website. I've gotten a few referrals that way. I've had people that, not through Instagram directly, but they've seen the Instagram, and I don't know how that.
I don't know how that works. No, okay.
Right. How does that work? But I'm just I'm proud of my, I guess, the way I'm trying to communicate with the folks who need help and who I'm suited to help.
Yeah. Well, and I think you do a great job of writing your obviously I follow your content. So I think you do a really good job of writing things that feel authentic to you and that don't feel cliche. I think a lot of times that therapy content can start to feel that way when you consume a lot of it. But it feels like your voice comes through in it,
That's good to hear.
And and I totally agree with you. We're not Disneyland. I say that to people, not that phrase, but I will remind people you don't need, it's not even you need 25 referrals all at once. A few referrals a month builds one therapist practice. If you had 3 or 4 referrals, because people stay and come in and out. And so if you had 3 or 4 referrals coming in per month, by the end of the year, you're going to be full, So I think it's but I think we think that sometimes that we try to appeal to a really wide audience, Yeah.
I writing my Psychology Today profile, I'm everybody is saying, you're in pain, I can help.
Oh, 100%. There's so much let me help you upon your journey toward getting the life that you want. If life that you want was a phrase that I got $5 for every time I found it, I'd be bajillionaire on Psychology Today,
You would you life you want?
Right. And most people don't know what the life they want is. So there's some phrases that building the life that you want, getting clear. There's all these little phrases that therapists always use,
Yeah. That are pretty jargon. It's our language, but does it actually meet? All that to say, it is a little bit of a trust that the more unique I become, that'll actually empower the practice to be what it needs to be instead of like, the more I show who I am, the more of a chance people won't like that.
Yeah.
Won't want to come, won't. And so that's been a mental hurdle for me.
Well, I always think like, here's the thing, right? Like we want some people not to like it. Like we don't want all of our clients to, we don't want to fit for everybody. Like, I think that's one of the things I feel like I learned as an early therapist was like, like in those first few clients who aren't a good fit or who don't stay, like I feel like as I've gone further through my practice, I've gotten better at identifying earlier on who will be a good fit for me and who won't. But early on, I was terrible at that. I like took people that probably weren't a good fit. And now I feel like I feel so grateful when a client comes in or when I'm on a phone call and either they think it's not a good fit or I think it's not a good fit. Because then we're not wasting our time, then I can help them figure out who is, and like there's going to be tons of clients out there who aren't a good fit for us for whatever reason. And they're doing us a favor if they tell us rather than spending 10 sessions with us and then are like, meh, So the more clear our marketing is, I think like the easier it is down the road anyway. I mean, I don't know.
Where would you say things shifted? Maybe how many years into your practice and work as a therapist did it shift and you realized I don't need the breadth of experience so much anymore?
That's a good question. I think like sometimes when when I've worked with clients who are really aligned with my professional passions, it flows so much easier. Like sessions feel like they go quicker. I feel like there's that synergy between you and the client. And it's like, I want that for all of my clients. So when I get this sense early on, like this is outside of my scope, or because I've had kind of a culmination of really good experiences and really aligned clients, it's easier now to recognize when someone isn't and to be okay with that. Like I kind of think about it like with aging too, or like friendships. I think in my like early 20s, I was like, if someone didn't like me or didn't want to be my friend, I was hurt feelings or whatever. And now it's like, no, like life is short. Like let's surround ourselves by the people that we really click with. And then like take what you like and leave the rest type of thing. I don't know. I don't know if there was a moment. Do you know what I'm trying to say? I don't know what I'm trying.
Well, 100%. Because it's like an intuitive, it sounds like an intuitive like sense that you grew.
Yeah.
Based on experience. You're like, oh, this is what it feels like to be in the room with a client who
is a good fit for you.
It's a good fit.
Yeah.
And the more you had that, the easier it was to kind of.
Yeah. And I don't even mean like quote unquote, like easy clients, like I like love working with teenagers and young adults and like young mid-30s. And I've had plenty of clients over the last decade who don't want to be in the chair, who feel really frustrated, who are going to sit there the whole time and be totally silent. And I love that. Like, I love a teenager who's like, my parents forced me to be here. Like, I don't want to talk to you. And like, that's really aligned for me. Like I'm fine with sitting there in silence. I'm fine with being like, tell me about, like, so I don't mean clients who like, I think sometimes we're all like, we want, people who are like, I'm here. I read every Brene Brown book. And now you can help me just a little bit. Like, like
that's own special sauce there. Like
that is its own special sauce. Sometimes like when my clients come in and they've read a lot of like therapy books, I'm like, okay, but like, just tell me about you, like I love Brene. We all love Brene, but what's going on with you? And that can be hard. But I don't know. Who's your, like, when you think about kind of your ideal client, who do you love working with?
3 groups.
I love that I love that you're like 3. Here we go.
Couples.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel you on the like, other therapists are like, why?
Yeah, I'm like, why? Couples? No. Like, I'm like, you can have every couple I've ever known.
College students.
Yeah.
Creatives.
Yeah.
Particularly folks who are like, I'm I'm wrestling with the artist side of life. For all sorts of different reasons, but just creative types.
I love all those things. I love all those things for you. I don't love seeing couples for me. Okay, so tell me. Okay, here's my question about couples. So, you're married. Are you married? I can't remember. You are. Okay, so this is what it's TMI. I always think about couples therapy. I don't see couples. I'm really clear on the fact I don't. I refer out every single couple that's ever been referred to me. Because I always am like, relationships are hard. Marriage is hard. I'm married. It's hard. I love my husband, but being married is hard. And I was like, who am I? Who am I to what? Does that come up for you ever? Where you're like,
say more. Who am I to?
I guess okay, so when I work with clients, this is some of my own shit coming out. Did not expect talking about this. Okay. But when I work with clients, like individuals, all right, even though I've got my own anxiety, I've got my own depression, I've got all my own stuff, right? I go to my own therapist, whatever. I can still say I have my own stuff and I know I can help this person still. And in fact, I think it's informed by my own stuff, a lot of times. But when couples stuff, I'm always like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm married, but I don't know what we're doing. We're just trying to figure it out. So how am I going to help someone else? I don't know. This is like therapy 101. I'm just wondering if you ever get any imposter syndrome, I guess is what I'm saying, with working with couples.
The who am I? That to me is that lives in the world of I need to be useful.
Oh, I have that one. I've got that.
Right. I need to be able to show, and this couple actually needs to be able to tell me that I'm useful. But I'm sometimes the ways they make use of me has nothing to do with whether or not I feel useful. Because they can come in and look at me like she doesn't get it. She doesn't get us. And in that way, figure out what us is.
Yeah.
And I may feel like they really don't want me in on, right?
Right.
And this is just this could be one of many things happening in a given time in a session. But I hear you on the imposter syndrome. With couples, I feel like it's in my bones to be watching conflict happen in a couple. So there's a sense of my whole nervous system is we've seen this.
I've been here before. Yeah.
I've been here before. Yeah. I've been here before. I don't have as much of the who am I? I feel a little bit of distance, I think.
That's good.
That I don't necessarily feel one-on-one. It can be good.
Right.
It can also be safe. It's my little avoidant strategy, right?
I have some of those.
Right?
Yeah.
One of my big growth edges in couples work has been shifting to see couples together, but then also individually. In grad school was the message, no secret,
right,
kind of things. And it is bringing me closer to each of them. And so that's challenging me and some of my own stories about don't be biased.
Right. What you should or shouldn't do. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm guessing you don't feel who am I to help a teen?
Oh, I know. Isn't it funny how, but what you said about this, the desire to be useful or that's something I really in therapy room struggle with of that I don't always have to know how I'm useful or even be useful at all. I'm a fixer. I'm a classic codependent, fix. And that hit me. I'm wait, I don't always have to be useful. Totally.
Yeah. And it doesn't, it's we don't always even know the ways we are. Yeah.
I feel like I just went to therapy. That was good.
I just need to follow this up with the like, so how does that land with you?
Yeah, I know, right? That's one of my favorite questions. But that is something like, I think it's always, I find that so hard as a therapist. I think this is where being a therapist and being a person comes together for me, that like, I picked a career where I felt I would be useful because it's an important part. It's an important value to me, but also a way, like it's a shortcut to self-esteem. Like feeling useful, feeling helpful is my easy route to self-esteem instead of just being. Like instead of it's just okay to just be you. And so the career like feeds the shortcut. If that makes any sense,
It can be a substitute.
Yeah.
Like for me, my shortcut with therapy is like getting needs met by meeting someone else's need, which is not the same as knowing what I need.
Yes, 100%.
But it's how I've like by proxy gotten like some emotional satisfaction.
Yeah.
And I'm aware of that in myself.
Yeah.
And also like chose a field where I'm going to have to wrestle.
I know.
With the rest of my working career. So why do we do this to ourselves? I don't know. But
it's one of the things I like most about being a therapist, is I think that the longer and longer I've been a therapist, the more I realize I don't know. The more I'm like, wow, being a human being, being in relationship, being a part of a family, coping with our own stuff, like that's hard. I don't feel like, I think when I first started in this field, I was like, I'm going to help it. I'm going to save it. I had the whole savior company, and now I'm like, oh, I get that it's challenging. I learn a lot from my clients,
Yes.
But
there are the strange things in which we're held too.
Yeah.
By the frame and like how we're showing up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm thankful that this profession, not completely and not perfectly, but it is, will name the blind spots.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll be aware of your stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, I wish every industry had some
100%.
level your own stuff,
Yeah.
Like,
do you watch, now I'm going to forget her name. I'll tag it in the show notes. But there's this one TikTok person that's like, she's like the work bestie. And she basically like teaches people how to deal with work conflict. And I'm always like, wouldn't it be great if in a work setting, we had more like accountability, maybe some therapists on staff at different companies that really helped us navigate. Like, anyway, this is all a tangent. We don't have to go on this tangent. We can cut that out.
Well, I mean, I literally think I've been in jobs where that was my role. It wasn't in the job description.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
I was pulling emotional labor.
Yeah.
For people around me. And that can happen in all sorts of different industries. But at least it feels top down sometimes, like it's talkable that we're aware of our own stuff.
Yeah.
And whether like some of us are in personal therapy or some of us are figuring it, it's like talkable. Like we're
at
also
least
human.
people I think there's again, hopefully more of a sense in mental health organizations that like people should be talking about their stuff. I always say like the longest meetings you'll ever go to are like therapy case consult, like therapy team meetings. I feel like all the like, I used to be in a group practice and like, God, our meetings were like 3.5 hours. And most of it was us talking about like, well, I saw this client or whatever. And then it's like, well, let me tell you about my countertransference, and I think therapists in general are good at like trying to figure out our own shit. Maybe. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we know we have it. We can at least say that.
Yeah, we know we have it. Okay, let's pivot. I'm going to pivot us. So, I want to know about, as you look toward the next year of getting licensed and just what are, maybe not the next year, but what are your long-term career, like what do you hope for Lacy at retirement? Because let me give you some, while you think about it, let me give you some background on this question. I am shocked about how rarely as therapists we think about the end of our careers. And I don't know, I have parents who are like late 70s and they're actually still working. And I think about this of like, we don't talk about longevity. Like we don't talk about like, you could ideally be doing this for the next 40 years. So like, what do we want? Not just like what's our career goal in the next few years, but just like, what do you want for this journey in the long term right now while you're in the pre-license phase? So this is gonna be all over the internet. So one day in 50 years, you can watch this episode and be like, did I do?
I appreciate the opportunity to tell you. Oh, well, truthfully, the first thing that comes to mind is how I hope I feel. Like Lacy at retirement age, if it stays the same.
I know,
So
right? When we're 120 or something.
I hope she is still very curious. I hope Lacy at retirement age is willing to take risks and stay uncomfortable in order to grow. I hope she takes really good care of herself.
Yeah.
And that she's had a lot of fun.
I agree. And has some cool shorts. I hope you're rocking the exercise shorts in the office in 80.
I hope her fashion is like an authentic expression of herself. Yeah, I don't feel like I can control the sustainability and the longevity, because there's so many complex reasons why we choose the job we do and we stay in it as long as we do. But what I feel on the inside matching what's happening on the outside, I hope that's still true, even if it means like, oh, she's not a therapist anymore.
Yeah.
She's now like writing books, or she's now holding workshop, or like she teaches, whatever that like looks like at that point. I think I'll look back on this and be like, you didn't know what you're talking about.
I always look back on stuff like that. I literally never know.
Of course. But right now I feel like, why would I retire?
Yeah.
Like if I'm not burnt out, why would I retire? Would it change? How? Maybe, but like retirement doesn't appeal to me. No, that's the thing I think
You know, I gotta say, my dad is 78, and he has been telling us for the last decade that he's gonna retire, and he's still not retired. Yeah. So, and I feel like I've learned from him. He loves his job. Ever since I was a kid, he makes those little shampoos that go in hotels. Long story. Wow. But I think about that with being a therapist. Like, being a therapist is one of the few careers where like we get better as we get older. Ideally. I mean, maybe, like I also believe that you can be young and be a fabulous therapist. So I don't mean it's like this linear trajectory, but I think a lot of times people can feel like as they get older, they don't, in other careers, whatever, but in therapy, like there's huge incentive to being older. And so, and it's the type of job, what you can do regardless of your physical capabilities, so yeah, I want to hang out with old lady you, and our cool shorts and longevity and stability in the career, or whatever we're wearing. Maybe like we'll go back to like even something jumpsuits, more comfortable. Like I don't know what could be more comfortable than yoga pants.
Hold on, what are those called? The sleep
onesies. Yeah,
the onesies.
I have a Snuggie.
What's that?
I have a full body sweatshirt jumpsuit. I wear it.
I wouldn't know when you're pulling that out. Do you? Okay, good.
When you when you're in your next step and we have you back on, I think you should come back like when you get licensed or something, like making that next step. I will wear a full body jumpsuit because it's a podcast. Like people will only see from here up. But you have to come in something equally ridiculous.
They should be seeing the whole. You talk about that, like that's better. No, you want to
see the whole jumpsuit. All right, we're gonna wrap it up with this. What is one piece of advice that you wish you had had in grad school? Like, what is something now you could look back on starting grad school you wish you would know?
Invest in Zoom.
Like invest in learning how to use it, or just the membership, or what?
Put $50 in Zoom stock.
Oh, yeah, dude. Maybe some Zoom, some Pfizer, and some Moderna while we're at it. I did buy some Pfizer at the very beginning of the pandemic, but didn't do so. It's like, okay.
And that's why you are who you are, Kelley.
Nah, I literally bought like $200. It's just for funsies.
And I bet it feels fun now. Extra fun.
I know, but investing in Zoom, yeah, that would have been a good idea. Like, I feel like I wish I could have told myself, like, you're going to do a lot more telehealth than you realize.
Like, really go ahead and get that house plan.
Yeah,
because
you're gonna be home a lot. You know, like learn how to use like this whole setup I have going on here. You can't see it, obviously. It's like just a lot.
I love your painting, by the way. The purples, the greens.
Can I tell you something about this painting behind me? It there's a glare. So literally like 15 minutes before this, I'm like trying to crack the glass out of here so there's no glare in the camera. And so like there's definitely some like broken shit on the other side of that bed.
Are you serious? Like glass? Pieces of glass?
Well, now that I said it, it actually is acrylic, so it's okay. But yeah, I had to get there was a glare. Like turns out when you make videos, you have to like deal with all this. You should see what my office looks like. This is my one really nice corner that makes me look like I've got it together.
Yeah, we all need that corner.
Yeah, that's what I wish somebody had told me in grad school. Like, you're going to need a corner that looks really professional in your house. Other than that, like, it's probably fine. All right, Lacy. So where can people find you? I'm going to put it in the show notes, but where can they find you? How can they connect with you?
People can find me at lacytannoustherapy.com, which has more information about my practice and some writing that I do there. And then Instagram, my handle is at Lacy Tannous Therapy.
Awesome. Yeah, love it. Okay. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
This podcast is sponsored by SimplePractice. I've been using SimplePractice since 2016, which has helped me run a smooth and profitable private practice over the years. It has simplified everything from scheduling to billing, giving me a better balance between the work I'm so passionate about and the family time I'm not willing to miss out on. Check out the episode notes to get a free 2-month trial of SimplePractice, my preferred all-in-one HIPAA-compliant solution. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Ask Kelley Anything, one of my favorite segments of this show. So let's get into today's question.
Hi, Kelley. My name is Maggie, and I just found out that I'm pregnant. I'm trying to figure out maternity leave from my private practice and was wondering if you have some ideas of how I can handle this. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, so first of all, that's so exciting. I don't think I've ever had anyone tell me on the private or on the podcast that they're pregnant, but that is awesome. And yes, okay, so this is something that I actually get a lot of questions about. And first of all, I want to assure you it's going to be okay. I know when I first started thinking about maternity leave and thinking about having kids, one of my biggest concerns was that I was self-employed, that I didn't have any employees who could kind of take over while I was gone. And I was really nervous about it. So everybody is going to approach maternity leave differently. And so much of the question here has to do with your own personal financial situation. So, the very first thing that I would do is I would sit down and ask yourself, from a financial perspective, how long can you afford to take off? And that question is going to be different for every single person, every single parent, every single parenting situation, every single relationship. So, but it is the question you have to ask yourself first, is how long can I take off? Once you have that part in your mind, then you have to decide, are you going to have another therapist kind of cover your private practice, or are you going to have your clients wait? Some clients are going to be able to wait out a maternity leave, depending on how long it is, and won't want to see another therapist while you're gone. And other clients will want to see another therapist or simply won't be able to wait. So the biggest thing I tell people is, it's really helpful to find another mom or another new mom who maybe you trade off with I know this was the case when I went on maternity leave with my son. I had kind of covered someone else's practice during their maternity leave. We were in kind of the same age and knew we were going to have kids around the same time. So we kind of had a deal like, I'll cover you, you cover me. And that was really helpful. And what that looked like was the clients that I knew couldn't wait. I had two options. Either they could start seeing her for a certain number of sessions, and with the knowing that they might come back to me, or they could just start seeing her entirely and not see me anymore. And it's really, really important, no matter how afraid you are, no matter how worried you are about your business, to realize you will rebuild your census in your private practice. And it's most important in the moment to, number one, take care of you and take care of your body and your baby. And also to make sure that your clients are getting the care that they need. And to make sure that they know that if they choose to move on with another therapist, whether it's that person you put on call or someone else, that they have your blessing, that you want the best for them. And so make sure that you really share that. And, what I hear most therapists doing, and everybody's different, but I hear most therapists saying, they pick kind of a certain amount of time that they're going to be gone out of the office, and then they let their clients know that. And then they let their clients know, hey, I will reach out to you about 3 weeks prior to me returning to let you know the exact date I'm going to be in the office to see if you'd like to book a session. Or if you have found someone else during that time, or you're really enjoying working with the person that was covering my practice, that is completely okay too. And in that moment, I want you to be able to tell me that. So that's how I typically hear people doing it. I had kind of a slightly different situation because my son was born in the very first week of COVID. I didn't have the option to return as quickly as I would have liked. And in many ways, it was a blessing in disguise. I actually ended up taking a full year off. And so the majority of my clients either found new therapists or I had already paired them with somebody, because once we had gotten kind of into pandemic mode, I realized that I wasn't going to be able to go back because I didn't have any childcare. And so, almost my son is 2.5 now. And if you had told me that my business would be where it is today, when I decided to close my office because of the pandemic and because of having a baby in a pandemic, I would not have believed you. I think motherhood forced me to be really creative and to imagine different streams of income, to imagine being willing to put myself out there on Instagram, to be willing to build online courses and to get creative. So all of that to say, everyone's experience is different, but I would really encourage you to allow yourself to try new things and to trust in yourself that you are going to rebuild your practice in the best way possible for you, for your clients, and for that new baby. So congratulations. If you would like to be featured on Ask Kelley Anything, I love getting listener questions from you guys. Anything about private practice goes. And the best way to do that is actually just to give me a call and leave me a question on my voicemail. So I'm going to tell you the phone number right now and make sure to write it down. Here it is. 805-243-8241. I'm looking forward to hearing from you.